We all see tough people around us. Now, I'm talking about toughest of them all. Think about the army, the military, the Marines. Well, you may see where I'm going with this. Today's interview, I talked to my good buddy Antonio Centeno, who was an ex-US Marine Corps. Now, you may be thinking, what does that got to do anything with marketing and business? Well, there is. Imagine this. You having the opportunity to get an insight into the minds of some of those individuals who are toughest mentally and physically, and also having the ability to translate that mental toughness and attitude into the world of business and marketing and make a massive impact in their industries. Well, if that interests you, then this video, this presentation is just about that. My name is Amber Gupta. I'm the founder and CEO of Infomedia Digital. And in this candid interview, I talked to my good buddy, Antonio Centeno, who was a ex-US Marine. He's a successful businessman. He has got a number of businesses going. And in this interview, he shares a lot of his experience and a lot of great golden nuggets that I'm sure you're gonna be able to take away and take action on and get some results straight away. Now, Antonio is a great guy, and he's making waves online with his success story. So let's go ahead and talk to him right now. Okay, hi everyone. Thanks very much for coming to this interview. I'm extremely excited today to bring in the guest that I'm personally inspired by, and because of his background, because of what he's doing today, and because of the ethos that he has got. And there are so many things that we can also learn from this individual. And he's in the US at the moment, and I'm in the UK. So it's morning over there. Is it 9:30?
Yeah, at 9:43 in the morning.
At 9:43, we are 3:30 here in the UK. And it's going to be very interesting in the conversation. My guest's name is Antonio Centeno, and the reason I actually reached out to him is because I've been looking a number of different ways. Personal development is one of the key areas that obviously inspires me as a business, and I find so many ways to grow myself, and so I can have a lot better business. And I found out about I was actually researching about discipline, how to be more disciplined in life, and I came across Marine Corps, and then the disciplined way they lead their life, they have a purpose, they deliver, and all of those great things that I think we all should know about. And then I come to know about Antonio, and he has been a Marine Corps, but the main reason he's here also because he is a successful business owner. He has he owns now at this point about 6 businesses, and the one I came to know him from is Real Men Real Style, and which is obviously you say that your goal is to provide men the tools to educate themselves and build a wardrobe that best complements their individual style. And I'm really surprised to see how much information there could be in this field that we actually take for granted. We think we know a lot. Then I went onto your on your YouTube channel, and there is how to select a tie, how to dress in the winter, how to be smart. There's so much to know. So we're gonna have a very interesting conversation, but I'll just let you start. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how it all started, and a little bit so we can get to know you a little better.
Sure. Thank you, Amber, for having me on. And really quick, wanted to thank the audience for listening. And, I'm not going to spend too much time on me. I grew up in West Texas, which is over Midland, Odessa area, but it really desert. When people think of tumbleweeds, that's where I grew up. And spent most of my time there. I would take my summers out to California. So I would go out from a place that really didn't have, I thought, much style, to go to a place where, it was just materialism. Southern California. I grew up there spending a lot of time there in the 1980s and 90s. Most of my family was actually out in Southern California. So I grew up in both of those areas. Ended up going to college in Mount Vernon, Iowa, at a small liberal arts school called Cornell College. It's known because you could take one course at a time. But after that, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Ran into a Marine recruiter walking across campus, and he said, "Hey, why don't you become a Marine?" I have a family history. My father was in the Army. My brother was a Marine. Great-grandfather was a merchant Marine. So all of these things kind of played into it, made a decision to become an officer in the United States Marine Corps, went through OCS, spent 5 years with the United States Marine Corps, and that definitely was a time period that transformed me. College, didn't do much for me. I would say that my time in the Marine Corps, and it wasn't, I would have to say, probably the most powerful thing about the Marine Corps are the men and women that make it up, and how if you go in, you're held to a higher standard. So that would be something I would really stress. If anyone wants to improve themselves, get into a room and put yourself around people that are high achievers. Because I remember being at a Marine Corps ball and sitting at a table, and there's right across from us, hanging out with us, is an astronaut. And just to meet a guy that had traveled to space, was a former fighter pilot, all these things, it's pretty humbling. At the same time, it also really goes to show what we're capable of, and you start to realize that I can do pretty much anything if I put my mind to it. This guy that has traveled into space multiple times, made it through all these, and you start to get surrounded by amazing people. All of a sudden, you start to realize many things that we want to do in life are very achievable if you set systems up so that you're constantly making that little bit of progress on the way. So after my time in the Marine Corps, came out very inspired, but didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I went over, lived abroad for a while. My wife is Ukrainian, or my fiance was Ukrainian at the time. She's now my wife. And I lived in Ukraine, was there for the Orange Revolution, and was an international observer there in 2004. 2005, came back to Texas, got my MBA at the University of Texas. Please don't hold it against me. I have a formal education. And I would have to say, MBA is really cool, but if anybody really wants to, and I love the University of Texas, great connections, but I would say that anybody can achieve greatness by using websites like Mixergy, The Rise to the Top, Entrepreneur on Fire. These guys are putting out so much great information that anyone, no matter where you're at in the world, you can take this information, and most of that's free, by the way, and you can apply it. And that's how I've really built up my businesses in the last 7 years. Is first off, I did learn some great things going to school, and that was always be able to start a business around identifying a problem, try to solve the problem. And Amber, you made a good point about, okay, well, what are the problems in menswear? Do men really have that much of a problem getting dressed? Believe it or not, most men they're shooting themselves in the foot when they get dressed, because they're dressing themselves in a way that it's not aligned with the message they want to put out there. And that's what I focus in on. If I just talked about clothing, Amber, and if I was focused on clothing, to be honest, I would hate my job. I wouldn't like what I do. In fact, I don't really care about clothing. What I care about, Amber, are the men that wear the clothing and helping them achieve whatever it is they want. So if they're in sales, I want them to help create trust so that they can sell more of their great product. If they're an investor, I want them to be able to dress in a manner that the bank or whoever they're talking gives them that credibility which they've earned and they deserve. If there's somebody just going out, graduated from college and they want to look for a job, I want them to learn how to wear a suit properly so that it's not held against them, that they don't look like they could actually be a customer-facing representative of that company. And so that's what I focus in on. And I think it's amazing because there are so many areas where there's a need for businesses that really focus in on what's important. And then you've probably heard of Simon Sinek. So Simon says start with the why. And I think that if you really get down to it, why you're in business, and you realize it's because of people. It's because of the human beings and wanting to help them. And a lot of people think sales is a bad word, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Salesmen used to be trusted advisors. And so with all of my businesses, I'm always trying to think, how can I become that trusted advisor again? Of course, I've got products to sell. I got to, put food on the table. I can't pay for milk with Facebook likes. But it's something that I want them to willingly give me their money, because they realize that what we're giving back is going to give them a 10 times to 100 times return on their investment with us. So, we've got Real Men, Real Style. I'm really proud of another business I just started with a guy named John Lee Dumas over at Entrepreneur on Fire, and Tom Morcus over at Insurgent Publishing, and that's called High Speed Low Drag. It's probably relevant because that one is helping military men and women transition out of the service, whether they, it doesn't matter if you were a Gurkha, or it doesn't matter if you were with the British Royal Marines, or if you were with the United States Marine Corps. I know a lot of us that join the military, we join to serve, and all of a sudden we're getting out, we can't even get a job at a car wash. It's like, wait a minute, I was in charge of a tank battalion, a tank unit, and now you won't even let me operate this car wash because you don't think I've got the skills for it. So we're helping guys like that show, and it's very related to the clothing, because clothing, when you see someone from a distance, you make a decision, and we're trying to help military vets when people look at them from a distance, whether that be social media or their resume, be able to send the right message so that they can do what they want in life. So that's just hopefully that gives people an idea.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting what you said about being in that environment when you actually joined Marine. Is people around you, and you look at them, what they have done, and you get so much of inspiration. It is so much true, and I think one of the things that resonates in the business world, obviously also in my life, that when I actually came in contact with entrepreneurs who are doing really good, I saw where I could actually go to. And a lot of the times we just look at our failures or things that we have been doing not so good and just stay in the same circle that has not been providing the kind of fuel for us to kind of move forward. So it is very interesting what you said. So tell us a little bit more about how you sort of made the transition from what you have been doing. You served the Marine for 5 years, then you came out of it. You went to the MBA. Was that an easy transition for you, being in that? It's a very different environment, right?
Yeah.
From that to this business world of MBA. How did that happen for you? What was the motivation?
Well, there was a space between when I went and I lived abroad in Ukraine. I had saved up money. I was running a nonprofit. We were actually getting food and medicine to orphans in through different orphanages in Ukraine, and that was actually opened my eyes up to the power of the web. I realized that by taking photos, I could actually connect with sponsors and donors all over the world. But I realized I didn't know anything about money, because basically we were running that nonprofit into the ground. We were scraping by for money, and that's why I went back to go to business school. So business school is interesting. And Amber, what's your background?
I used to be an engineer, electronics engineer.
Yeah, where's your family from originally?
Originally, I'm from India.
What city?
It's near Calcutta. It's
Okay.
a small town called Bardwan near Calcutta in West Bengal. It's the eastern part of India.
No,
I've got a part of my family there.
Yeah, in 2005, 2006, I spent a little bit of time in India, and we went to Mumbai, and started off, flew into
Right, yeah.
Delhi and everything. Beautiful country, but and I just ask because I know a lot of my Indian friends. Like, getting an education is very, very important. And I know the Indian institutes are some of the hardest schools in the world to get into. I mean, just so cutting edge. And I think there's this belief again and again that you've got to have that formal education to achieve success. And really, I think that paradigm is being blown up by the web and the ability, because whenever I hire people, I base it off performance. So getting to your question about what was it like to transition into the MBA world, it was actually very frustrating, because I really did believe that going in there, I listened to what they say. I came in with a very open mind, and I was like, okay, they want, I didn't have a background in business. I'd never taken a business class before. I had an undergraduate degree, but it was in biology and philosophy and psychology. So totally different philosophy, just totally different stuff. And I really thought, okay, if I dive into this and I'm just like an open book and really studying hard, learning, but taking it all in and trying to identify what's key, that I'll do well. I did really bad my first semester, actually, and it was something that literally I was on academic probation my first semester, because I wasn't focused on gaming the system. And that did frustrate me, because I noticed that the people that were at the top, when you're in an accounting course and 20 to 30% of the people are accountants, and you've never taken an accounting course in your life, and these guys have not only the accountants, but they had like 3 to 5 years of experience. Of course, it doesn't matter. Like, they, of course, kicked my butt. Now, but what, and they also had the tiered system where only 20% of people would, or 10% would get an A, 20% would get a B. So they had to give out Ds. I can tell you, I was that guy that was getting all the Ds. I got like Ds in 4 out of my 5. That's not good. 4 out of my 5 classes. However, that was very frustrating to see how that system is gamed, and how most of the people, they weren't studying to learn, they were studying to get the grades. And that first semester was very tough. I almost walked. I mean, I almost quit the MBA program. I was very frustrated. I was there on the Hazelwood Act, so my military. I was getting it paid for me because I was a combat veteran. But I remember seeing the next semester, I got to choose my own courses, and I really approached them. I mean, I studied just as hard, but I did, focus in more about getting better grades. But I would have to say, I came away with a bit, kind of a sour taste in my mouth that this isn't the way the world works, because you don't try to figure out the game. You shouldn't figure out how to game the system. You should. I really think there's a need for being able to really serve that customer, or going out there and creating a business that makes a difference. So I'd have to say I did leave the MBA program a little bit frustrated. By the way, my last 3 semesters, I had like almost a perfect GPA. So I ended up graduating with like a 3.37 or something like that. So it really shot my GPA up. But no one has ever asked me my GPA, and it didn't matter. The only way it mattered is for consulting companies that were looking for that as a minimum criteria. And it's something I hate to say it, but looking at my MBA versus what I've learned from guys like Andrew Warner or John Lee Dumas, or some of these other guys out there, and what I've learned online, I'd have to say the value of what I've learned online is worth so much more. And that's how I've been able to build my company successfully, is realizing that it's about getting out there. It's applying. Because I actually did read in Competitive Strategy. There's a book by Michael Porter. Called Competitive Strategy. That's why he's the grandfather. Most people did not even read the book. They simply read the cliff notes. I read the book twice. I love the book because I read it and I still use that information. Most people don't even remember his 5 forces or all these like little details. But I read it and I took it to heart, and I always read it as I would read it as an entrepreneur, applying it to my company. So I did get, going back, I did get some value from it, but the value wasn't seen till later. And that's enough of my rant on formal education and sometimes the misfocus that they push there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And one thing you have mentioned about a number of times now is creating a real value in the marketplace, and web having the ability to be able to do that for anyone who has got that mindset, who has got the kind of the intention to actually go out there and do something. So tell us how you sort of got into your first business, what sort of problems you looked at, and how you found a solution, and how it kind of all sort of came about for you.
So my first business was a company called A Tailored Suit, and this was started in 2007. And before that, whenever I was looking at MBA programs, I was flying out to Cornell University. I was interviewing with them, and I remember I didn't have a suit. And so I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I get a suit? I'm in Kyiv, Ukraine. Went and looked at, my options were these $200
Can I just
Russian.
briefly interrupt here?
Sure.
Because here is the thing, I should have mentioned this before, especially for the audience, that I saw your interview and saw you online, and you are dressed like anything, and I thought maybe I would look a bit scruffy here, but I have to say that I didn't say to you that it's going to be a video interview. It just came from your running, and they said to put something on. So if you look a bit different, not so sort of well dressed as
I've become a lot more casual in many of my videos, because right. I did start, and that's actually a great point. Is I started, and I don't normally wear a tie. I own a custom clothier. That was my first business. And that is part of, putting on that image of, that was my target market. And that's, so initially that was, I owned a company, a tailored suit. I saw a hole in the market in that I needed a suit at this time when I was interviewing, couldn't find it. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if you could, read about Mark Cuban buying a jet online. I'm like, well, if you can buy a jet online, why can't I buy a suit that fits me? And it turned out that there was a company called A Suit That Fits, which is actually over in UK. And I saw them and I saw their business model. I'm like, this is perfect. But you know what? These guys are in England. They don't really speak my language. I don't really like the website. I'll just create something like this. And that's what I did. I saw someone that was doing something. It wasn't fully expanded in the market. At the time, there were maybe only 2 other companies that I knew of in the entire world doing this. Now there's well over a couple hundred. So the market has gotten a lot bigger for this. But with A Tailored Suit, I simply said, I can take my fancy MBA education and I can get this business started. And it was, and I had also spoken with a couple tailors, traveling tailors. They told me how much money they were making, how many months a year they were working. And one guy told me I was making a couple $100,000 a year, working 6 months out of the year. And I'm like, I'm about to sell my soul to a consulting company for $150,000 a year, and I'll be working, 60 to 70 hours a week. I think this, starting my own business thing sounds better. So that was what I did. And it was not as easy as I thought it was. But what I did discover with my first company, and that company still exists, although it's not my main company anymore, is that using information to build trust and to bring people in is a very, very powerful way to market yourself online. And so with the Tailored Suit, that was when I first wrote some great articles. I put them out there on the web, and lo and behold, we actually had a lot of traffic come to our website. I think at the height, that website was getting about 100,000 uniques a month, which for a little custom clothier in Wisconsin, that's quite a bit of traffic. Now, not all of that was converting into sales, but what it did teach me is that you can get an audience, you can get traffic by, in a sense, putting out this great content. I started writing with a blog called The Art of Manliness. That even exposed me to the ability to actually use content to create a business around it. And from that, I created Real Men, Real Style, realizing that there wasn't really much out there in video, and that's where video, I think we've set ourselves apart. There's many other blogs out there, but there's very few that actually take video, written content, and infographics, combine them into. So my goal is to be the top 1% and to focus in on creating the best content in the world for very specific topics. And this content's evergreen. And we make money, with affiliate marketing, with linking out to our own products, with advertisers. So we've probably got 20 different revenue streams. We sell books on Amazon. I've got courses. So all of this really goes down to the part that there is a hunger for information, and I want to create that trust, because once I've got the trust with the person, then it doesn't matter what I'm selling. Because in the future, I could strike a deal with a bank or with an insurance company. And just to give you a hint of where we're going, and because I can acquire the customer at a much lower cost than they can, because if someone's looking for insurance and you want to get in front of them, the cost of acquiring that customer is very high. But if someone's just looking how to tie a tie, who actually most of those people do eventually need insurance, if you're getting in front of them, it's actually much cheaper. So our long-term strategy is to build that audience, and then over time start to expose them to more and more products, because the trust can convey, if you look on television, you've got athletes selling you shoes, and that makes sense. But then you've got other times where you've got people who play doctors. They're actors and they play doctors, but they're talking about medical devices and medicine. It's like, that really doesn't make sense, because they're not even an expert, but we still have trust and we associate with them. And so it's pretty cool to see where you can take your business once you get started, because, yeah.
That's very, very interesting what you said. And before we actually get into some of the online side of things, because that's where you have been doing incredibly well. One of the things that I wanted to ask you is that having different strategies and ideas that we talk about. Some of the business I work with, or I tell them on a regular basis, this is what we do, and many people know a lot of the times what they need to do, and then they can't implement. They can't deliver. I mean, in your case, you have came out and you talked about all of these different revenue channels. You have got all these different things that is happening. What I want to talk to you, ask you about is how do you think might be someone like yourself operating differently than a lot of the people who know what to do, but they can't just go ahead and deliver what they want to deliver or implement a lot of the strategies that they talk about. And I've got clients who we talked about maybe say 6-12 months ago, and we drawn out a marketing strategy for them, and things still haven't been implemented. Slow, because today I guess it's the speed of implementation that really decides what sort of results you're going to get. So what you can share in terms of someone like yourself go there and do all of these different things as someone who may know what to do but can't really deliver. Tell us a little bit about that.
So first off, it's a bit ugly when I hear, because what I'm going to say is pretty blunt, and a lot of people don't want to admit it, but a lot of people say I'm too busy, I don't have time. What you're really saying is it's not important, because You make time for things that are important. You feed yourself because if you don't, you will die and you will starve. You drink water because if you don't, you'll be dehydrated. So let's look at your time. Let's look at. I mean, I haven't watched television. I mean, I haven't owned a television since 2001. A lot of people think, it's kind of crazy. Maybe, are you does that have to do with your religion or anything? Like, no, it's like, it's just simple. I don't have time to watch television. I gave my TV away the first time I deployed with the Marine Corps. And I just realized, wow, not having a television, not having that vampire that can suck me in and sit me down and stealing, even if you just watch 30 minutes a day, just 30 minutes a day. How many hours a year is that you are, in a sense, you're giving? I mean, we've got enough distractions. So you need to simply make it happen. I don't know how, I will give you some hints, but I know for me, what part of that is setting up systems so that it's harder to not do things. So I've got it now in office. I can tell you that having a separate office it's an expense that you don't necessarily see the return from. But before that, I had a truck stop that I went to for years. And I sat down at a table and I worked. And it cost me $5. And I would actually, because it was $1 for the coffee. And I always give them a $4 tip because I would sit there for 6 to 8 hours and I would work. And I wouldn't order food. I would eat before I would eat. I'm cheap. I keep things really low cost. But that was my office, and it wasn't beautiful. It didn't have the best Wi-Fi. But a lot of things you're doing, you don't need Wi-Fi for, because when you're creating a sales page, you can do that in a Word doc. I mean, you just simply need to get the work done. And we let so many distractions get in our way. The whole reason I have an office is not that I really, have no one come to my office. It's simply, I have a studio set up because it's a great system. Now I don't have to worry about lighting. I don't have to worry about sound because this is a permanent studio. I just have to get myself dressed and then I sit in front of the camera and I can knock out 5 to 10 videos at a time. And then get that to my video. All of these, I went through and I looked at where are bottlenecks, where are problems, and how can I, in a sense, systemize that and set things up so that, if you had someone knock at your door and you have a workout partner and they show up at your door every day at 6 o'clock, are you going to sleep in? No, because if someone's out at your door and they came 20 minutes, to wait, you're going to get up out of bed. You may not feel good, but that was one of the reasons in the military that we exercised in the morning. Well, we exercised because you had, when you're in boot camp, you've got someone yelling at you like, get out of bed, but hey, that's a system. It may not be the one that most people can do, but you can set it up so you've got groups together. I highly advise a mastermind. You can pay for a mastermind, you can join one, you can organize it yourself, but masterminds are incredibly powerful for having people who are your peers hold you accountable. So I would recommend that. I've done masterminds for the last few years. They've been very useful. I would also say that go ahead and do a Google search on it, but it's called the Eisenhower Matrix. And I've got this board in front of me. I'm looking at it right here. And on this square board, I've got urgent on the left-hand side. Over on the right-hand side, I've got not urgent. And over on the left-hand side, at the top, I've got important. And right below it, I've got not important. So you need to identify, like this chart, I've got these little sticky notes all over the place. And on my sticky notes, I've got them all over there. And things that are urgent and important, I can see. Things that are not urgent and important, I can see. And I want to be focusing really on those not urgent, important things because eventually and I want to get less of urgent and important things. Now, what I need to be careful of, there are many things people are doing which are urgent but not important, or are not urgent and not important. So anything that's not urgent and not important, you need to just let drop off. And things that are urgent and not important, you need to be very careful of because they're trying to get in front of you, but honestly, they're not that important. Like like building up those relationships on Twitter. Now, for some businesses, that is smart, but for most businesses, that's a complete waste of time. And you need to be honest. Is spending time building up your Twitter following as important as the fact that you don't even have an email list? Are you kidding me? Email is where it's at. Email, if you listen to any of the smart guys out there, Derek Halpern over at Social Triggers, Pat Flynn over at Smart Passive Income, Corbin, Corbin, I can't remember, the guys over at Fizzle, Caleb and Corbin, and yeah, those guys. Everyone that knows anything about online marketing, you got to build your email list. Don't worry about, I mean, your Twitter following is cool, but if Twitter bans you, you've lost your Twitter following. I mean, you can own your email list, and I can interrupt people multiple times a day if I wanted to, or if I wanted to upset them with emails. But email is so much more important than building up that Facebook following. Even my YouTube subscribers, yeah, it's cool. We've almost got whatever, we're going to be, approaching 200,000 YouTube subscribers. People think that's really cool. Honestly, I don't care about that. What I care about are my email subscribers, because I know I can continuously build an audience with them, and I own that. And that is urgent, it's important. It's not right now. Building my email list isn't super urgent because we've actually got systems and we've been doing that and focused on it. But I think so many people, though, they say they don't have time, and the reason they say they don't have time is that they're focused on things which are not important but seem urgent, and are screaming at them. But it's honestly not that important. Let it fall off.
Well, I must just reiterate a couple of things you mentioned, very important. One is you talked about systemizing things, having a system in place. And you said something very interesting, that you have got things set up, for example, for your studio and recording is all there, so you don't have to worry about that. So putting a system in place, so you have least amount of effort now going back and doing the same thing again and again. You mentioned about accountability, a mastermind, those sort of things. And I think in my case, I've been looking for an accountability partner, and I think I can tell from my personal experience that sometimes you may be looking for an accountability partner, but you also have to make sure it's the right partner for you, because I spent time with some of the partners, accountability partners, and we would have a catch up once a week. And I would say, okay, this is what we have been doing. We share all of the things that we have been doing, and then gradually things just slow down a bit. We're not enough kind of, what do you call it, questioning each other enough, things that maybe we don't do, and then we may be missing our meeting. So no, this is not working. We need to enforce things. So I think it's very interesting, but also finding the right people around you. Just going back to what you said earlier, having the right set of people who also think the way you think and also want to go to where you want to go to, and then you have the support of this group, that could be an amazing thing to have, and in the form of mastermind. So tell us now a little bit about the interesting part of this this digital marketing thing that we have been referring to a little while. You have got hundreds and thousands of subscribers and followers on different social medias, and you also have got a massive email list. You have got hundreds of more than 11 million view on your YouTube the channel. Tell us a little bit about how you build up to that, and then possibly the interesting point of how you think about monetizing those. Because I think a lot of the times I talk to business owners, and they say, okay, it's not really of any use, because there is not very much tangible return on your investment when you're actually looking at your time you're investing in a social media and what you're actually monetizing. But obviously there are ways to do that, but not necessarily everyone looks at it as a way that they should actually invest their time, because it is important to invest your time, but also it is important to invest the time the right way so you get the best return possible. Tell us a little bit about it. How do you build that up, and how then you go about monetizing it? Share some thoughts.
So let me ask Amber, are you a cricket fan?
I am, yes.
Okay, who's the best cricket player? Who was the best cricket player in the last 30 to 40 years?
When I used to, I haven't been following cricket for a long time.
He just retired, didn't he?
There was this guy called Sachin Tendulkar.
Yeah.
He used to play for India, and he was a little guy, and he's a very good player.
Didn't he just retire?
He did, yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And did he ever make mistakes?
Yeah, lots.
He made a lot.
Mistakes.
In fact, many people felt he should have retired a few years ago. I mean, he should have retired earlier than what he did. I mean, he stayed around for a long time.
Yeah.
But the thing is he's the best in the world, considered by many. And but he made a lot of mistakes. But people didn't focus on that. They focused on his wins, right? Like what he did. I mean, the amazing, some of the amazing matches and some of his, the things that and you've got to think, so in America, we've got the equivalent is baseball. And to get into the Hall of Fame, you don't have to. People think of Babe Ruth, a very historic American baseball player, and they think of he was the leader for home runs for the longest time, but he was also the leader in strikeouts. But no one paid attention to the strikeouts. Everyone paid attention to the home runs. So first off, in order to find what's going to work for you, you've got to be willing to strike out. You've got to understand that 7 out of 10 times you're going to miss. And the other 2 times that you hit, it may only be like small hits. But that one time you hit that home run, you really want to, that's what everyone focuses in on. But what you want to focus in on as a business owner is focus on those winners. Focus in on, okay, I realize I'm going to swing, I'm going to miss, and but when I hit those things, I want to, I'm going to really give it and I'm going to run with those. So people see my success on YouTube. What they don't see is what I consider to be failure on Twitter. Like I don't have a huge following on Twitter. And there are many people that they've got millions of followers, all this stuff. Like Twitter just wasn't where it was at for me. We do really well on Pinterest, but most people don't reach out and say, oh, Antonio, you're this Pinterest. They focus in on YouTube. So first off, focus in on your winners. There's probably things that you're doing in your business and you're probably giving them all equal play. You want to focus in on those things that for some reason resonate. For some people, it's going to be a podcast. That may be, for other people, it may be infographics. We've actually done really well on infographics, but that's not something a lot of people actually ever ask about me. But it's funny, we actually got over 1 million views from our infographic, How a Suit Should Fit, over a period of a couple months, sent just all this traffic to our website. But that's not something that is visual or not something people notice as much.
And it's actually funny you said that. I've just got one of my design guys. He's putting together a digital marketing cheat sheet, infographics for us. Hopefully that's going to go out soon. So yeah, absolutely.
But you've got to be prepared for that not to do well. Like you really hope it does, and you try to find your next home run and your next solid, maybe triple or double. But what you do is you don't focus in on those things which you swung and you missed, or it's a complete loss. You look at it and you're like, okay, I tried. Now I'm going to move on to something else and so first focusing on the winners. And then once you get that winner, then you can really dive deep on it and take it to the whole nother level. Now I have to admit, even with our YouTube channel, we probably could be doing so much more there. And over the next year, you're going to see me take this thing from, 11 million views. My goal is to double it, or triple it. I want to get it to 30 million, 50 million. Why can't I get this to 100 million? I went out to VidCon, and this was an investment we made earlier this year, flew out to California, and I looked at people and I met with people that do have channels that are getting, 100 million views, 500 million views. Because I'm a business, and I looked at, it was kind of humbling to have to go look at people that are, basically these teenage kids, which apparently didn't seem to really know what they were doing, but they were able to build up these massive audiences. On the flip side, I realized that I'm doing a lot of things right. We did set up our monetization channel. So even though our channel compared with these ones, maybe we're 1/10 the size, we actually have a very high percentage of subscribers, and we actually have products in place which we can point them to. So again, focus in on your winners, then dive deep into it and really, force yourself to become an expert in this. You saw that interview I did with James Wedmore. Part of that was, me continuously reaching out to people who are the best in that industry. And I really love James' stuff and where he's focused at. And I've learned a lot from him. I've listened to James probably 5 or 6 of his interviews, and now he's become a friend. So it's beautiful. Once you start to dive into that and you start to do well, you find that it's very easy for you to get introduced. I mean, James, of course, wanted to talk with me because we're having success with the platform that he preaches about. And I have learned a lot from James. I've also been able to, hopefully influence James in certain ways. And so once you start to focus in on your winners, you can start to see leaps and bounds versus trying to struggle with those things, which I don't know if Twitter will ever be anything for me. Tumblr, I don't know. Instagram, it's just not. I don't know if we'll ever really become much with those, but we are still, I give them a little bit, maybe 5%, 2% of our time. I've got a number of virtual assistants, and they actually do put a little bit of time and effort into those. And as soon as I see a spark, I may actually divert some more resources to them. But right now, we're focusing in on our winners, and then we're going deep. And did you want me to talk? I don't know if you wanted me to talk more about monetization or specifically about things with the channel.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what do you do whenever channel working? How do you kind of look into monetizing those for your business or the different businesses that you have got?
Okay. So first off, understand with YouTube, it's a social media platform and I don't own it. So you have to, anyone on a platform like that, it's not. So one thing I try to monetize is I always try to get them back to my website. I own my website. I control what's on my website. I don't own YouTube. I can't control subscribers. YouTube just recently changed it. So subscribers don't get automatically notified when you put out a new video, which is really bad for us. But it's probably better for maybe the YouTuber experience. However, I do control my email list. I do control my channel. So that's the first thing from YouTube is I try to get them over to my website where I can better market to them. I can get them on my email list. I can get them into an email sequence where I can show them and offer all my products. So monetization starts with actually giving value and finding something. So one of the easiest ways to monetize is simply to turn on ads. So that's one thing a lot of people do use on YouTube. You become a partner and you simply allow, ads to pop up there. People don't really have a problem with that because they assume it's YouTube that's doing that, and many people don't even know how that works. But you can actually get, we get a sizable amount every single month just from YouTube for allowing ads on there. I also sell a number of electronic products. So I've got everything from ebooks to full-fledged courses, and those start anywhere from $50 to we've got courses that run up to $5,000. So every month we've got those, and it's a wide range. I'm a big fan of Dan Kennedy. If you don't know who he is, just do a Google
Yes.
search on him.
I'm not sure if you can see. I have got magnetic marketing over there.
You got a book, right? Yep.
I've his folder, his courses, all of
Yeah,
those.
folders, courses, and some of his courses you can go meet with him in person. It'll cost you $50,000. But the key with Dan Kennedy is he's got a whole, he's got so many different products.
Right? Yes.
Exactly. And that's what I think you want to do, because it's sometimes people will want to buy the lower price and move up high. Other times people want to buy everything to start with. So that's why you want to have that full Rolodex of great products out there. So we've got now books on Kindle. So you can buy a book on Kindle for $3 or $10, and we've got various books out there. But I've also got higher end courses like my Style System, which cost anywhere from $500 to $1,000 or multiple $1,000 if you want to coach with me. I'm about to opening up a business coaching course because every week I would get an email, someone that wants to come learn from me, do an internship or a mentorship or take a class from me. And now it's like, okay, well, I've got enough people asking. I'll go ahead and I'll open stuff up. So I'm actually doing interviews this week for my first class. So that's where I start to create products from, because you put a few out there, but then you get more people reaching out to you, asking you for certain things. And you want to, you can set up a sales page, and you don't even have to you can create the product once you actually sell a few of them. And because you don't want to necessarily spend all the time creating something before anyone tells you they want it. And you don't want to, if they tell you they want it, you don't want to necessarily create it until you know that they're willing to actually basically part with their hard-earned dollars for the value that they're going to give. Because many people want things, but they want it for free. I always try to listen to my customers first. And my customers are the people that pay the bills. And that's a great place to start, because then from that, it's good for everybody. Because one of my premium advertisers, Lee Jeans, they allow me to create great content. Yeah, they pay the bills, and they allow me to pay for this office and pay for my videographer and all these other people that we got working for us. And that trickles down, and it goes to where we can create even better, great free content so that more people around the world can have access to it.
I think I wanted to, this very interesting point you said about having different sort of products, a suite of products. And, it's good for businesses that are online, just delivering things online, maybe online products, online services. But also, I think there is a lot of application of that most businesses, or maybe just offline, or maybe service-based businesses who just sell their service or advice, very few of them actually think about how they can monetize just the knowledge that they have got in their brain. And I've been talking to one of my clients earlier, and they very much provide advice in a very specialized area. But one of the things that they can do is, people who are looking for information in that area, they can put together an ebook, they can put together a small digital course that people who may not be able to take their services can actually buy those things, and then they have got a new revenue stream. And I think very few few businesses actually think that, or how can I actually monetize even the knowledge that you have got? Because today, all you're talking about is having that information, right? So if people are looking for this information, they will pay a lot more for information today. And also, there is only so many people you can serve personally or maybe through your seminar. But if you have a digital product that can reach out to so many people.
And the currency isn't just money. It's also goodwill. It's creating trust. If you look at I've got this free 47-page ebook on men's style. I talk about it in my videos. I've had over 200,000 people download this free ebook. Now, of course, they give me their email in exchange, but I could charge for this free 47. I mean, it's a good book. I mean, there's chock full of solid info. And what I create is trust. I create great feelings. And what I love about that is people then give me honest feedback. Like sometimes people say, oh, maybe your follow-up sequence is a bit too aggressive for me. And I take that with a grain of salt, but I also realize, okay, well, how can I make it better? How can I improve myself? And because people, I've given them something of value, they want to give me back something, even if it's just free advice or their thoughts on how I can improve, or they simply tell their brother or their cousin about it.
The law of reciprocity, right?
Exactly.
From the book of Cialdini. So that's so I guess I interrupted somewhere. We are talking about your products and monetizing your channels on YouTube. So building lists, and where do you go from there? The product suites that you have got, and then you mentioned about having more products and which are kind of higher value products, right? But you
Yes.
sort of build them all up at the back of this, because people who have started at a maybe free or just a low price point, you sort of take them through information and knowledge, so what actually they need in order to get to where they want to get to, right?
Yeah, well, it's not always about information. I mean, information, if information was so valuable, people would be beating down the doors of libraries. They don't do that. In fact, libraries are, I mean, it's like the best information in the world is still trapped in libraries. Everyone thinks everything's on the web. That's not true. I mean, very little is actually on the web compared to what is in the stacks in libraries. And what I find, though, is what people really want to pay for is that specific information that's related to them that can solve their exact problem. I use the information, and the reason I give away most of my information is I use it to build trust and to throw that net out there. And then, but it is something that as you start to get more and more, with inbound marketing, more and more people approaching you, you have to set up barriers. You've got to protect your time like a hawk. And you've got to say, this is, in order to get on the phone with me, it is something, or to take my time, it is something that you do have to pay for. You do have to, and that's what, where it's nothing bad. It's like I give away tons of information. I give hundreds of videos, thousands of articles. Go, that information is free. Please use it. But if you want to take my time, understand this takes time away from me spending time with my kids, spending time with my wife, building businesses which help people. When you think of it in that way, you can be more careful with your time, and it's a great place to be when you realize your time is that valuable, and you can actually start to charge what you're worth.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing all of this great information. I guess that sort of
You're
brings
welcome, Amber.
us to the kind of end of the presentation. Is there any parting thoughts you may have? Before that, tell us how people can find out more about you, maybe to follow you or to get some more information from you and find out more about the things that you do in terms of businesses, where they can go to get in touch with you.
I think go into Real Men Real Style, and if they want to contact me, they can use my contact form. That contact form actually I have a bit of fun with, and I do try to make it a bit humorous. And I do that to create barriers and to put people in the right mind frame whenever they're reaching out to me. But if they want to soft subscribe, they can check us out on Facebook or on YouTube, subscribe to us there, or they can join my email list, and they can actually see my sales machine in action, and they can get some feedback and do some research for themselves right there. And my email, of course, is right there. And when people respond to me on email, I always get back to them.
Fantastic. Give us some parting thoughts today.
Take action.
Take action.
That's it. Just take action. Take massive action.
Excellent. Well, Antonio, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure talking to you, and I'm sure it was a great value in terms of the information you shared with us, and I'm sure the audience who are going to watch this video are going to get great value from that as well. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You're welcome, Amber. Take care.
Talk to us. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.